color-coded blasphemy. This really strange anatomy. Is this really my life? Something isn't right. The ambiguity, this whole damn conspiracy, playing out in my head. Something isn't right. I never wanted.
I'm Jimmy Black with Music on 11. I'm here with Aaron from Gemini Syndrome. Welcome back to Oklahoma City.
Thanks, man.
Now, the last time you were here, I got to talk to you. You were with the Mushroom Head.
Yep.
And you were on that tour. Now, hell, it's been almost a year.
Almost to the day.
The album has come out.
We were here Valentine's Day last year.
So, what have you done in the last year?
Toured a lot.
You guys have been touring your asses off.
Yeah, I mean, basically all of last year. Up until and after the record release, we were out with just a bunch of great bands, pretty much constantly. We had a couple moments home for a week or two here and there, but it's been hitting it pretty hard.
Now, your album, that some of the tracks have been played not only on satellite radio but terrestrial radio too. How exciting is that to actually be able to hear that?
Very cool, man. And then, getting hit up by people I know around the country saying, dude, I just heard you on my way to work today. And like my little brother last night called me from Chicago saying he heard us on that local radio. So it's pretty awesome, man. I can't really describe that. It's the thing that you always want, Just growing up trying to be a professional musician, you want to be on the radio and you want to hear your song, and then you do, So.
YouTube has definitely taken the place of, what MTV was and what radio was, 10, 20, 30 years ago.
Definitely.
And, how important is it to have a video or a lyric video, in your opinion?
The lyric videos have been really, I think, successful for us. It's something you can put together without having to do a real big production.
Mm-hmm.
And it still can be visually stimulating, but it also gives the lyrics for people who might not necessarily understand what I'm saying. Hopefully they can.
Oh yeah, your voice is very
I try to make it a
clear
point to pronunciate everything properly, I guess. But just to have that at your fingertips, that kind of exposure, and people can go back over and over if they want to, is a real big thing for us.
Now, growing up, what was it that made you want to do this?
I mean, I've been playing music since before I can remember being alive. So I was, at the age of 3, I was hitting piano keys. And my mom got me into lessons for that. And picked up the guitar when I was about 11. I've been singing my whole life. And I don't know, it was just something about rock and roll music. And as I got older, got into heavy metal and prog rock and all that kind of stuff. And I think it was just, I don't want to sound cliche, but it was really what I was put here to do.
Now, do you guys have special roles when you go in to record, when you go in to write? Is it a collaboratory effort, or do you have somebody that mainly writes bass lines, somebody that mainly writes lyrics, or do you guys all just do it together?
We all pretty much contribute our particular role. I write the lyrics, I write the melodies.
Okay.
For the most part. There's always, feedback given by everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But AP will come in, AP writes his bass lines. Mike and Rich write their guitar parts, Brian writes his drum parts. And again, there's always feedback and going back and forth, but each song tends to be different. Sometimes somebody will come in, let's say Rich comes in and has a song front to back kind of outlined in a rough form, and then we'll all kind of contribute our little salt and pepper to it.
So,
and then there's other times where, like when we were in the studio writing, we wrote stuff in the studio, just let's write another song, let's try to write this. So it just depends on the situation we find ourselves in.
Now, do you have, the lyrics, what is your inspiration for that? Like what do you go for a certain tone type or personal experience, or how do you write that?
It depends on the song. Again, every song is its own creation, so depending on my mood, if I'm going through something personally at that time, or if I'm in a really good place, it just depends. Most of it, I'd say, is probably personal experience.
My favorite song on the album is Basement.
Cool.
And I'm going to ask you, of course, what was the inspiration for that song?
That song is pretty blatantly about me growing up as a teenager with albinism. I grew up in the Midwest and got teased a lot for it. And like every teenager, you're trying to figure out who you are, where you fit in this giant conglomerate called Earth.
Yeah.
And try to become comfortable in your own skin. For me, I think that was, I can't say more or less difficult than anybody else, but it was certainly a unique experience.
Do you get emails or letters from fans that say that they can relate to that?
Absolutely.
And that it was. How does that feel?
Really good.
That's awesome.
To be able to contribute something
I guess it doesn't feel
positive.
terrible. That's kind of a silly question.
To be able to influence people in a positive way and maybe help them the way that music helped me when I was younger, and still does to this day. It's really an honor.
That's awesome. Now, what is going to come next for you guys?
More touring.
More touring?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, have you guys been out of the country yet?
We went to Canada.
Okay, that's kind of, it's like America Junior.
I mean, it's another country. We had to go through
Just
customs.
kidding, Canada.
Yeah, just kidding, Canada. We had to go through customs, so
yeah.
I needed
So it
my
counts.
passport. Yeah, we went international. Yeah, that was a cool experience. We were there for I think like 6 dates, maybe 7. Trying to go to Europe this year at some point.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting.
That's great. What has been the highlight of your music career so far? I mean, when did you step back and went, oh my gosh, this just really happened?
Between radio and then actually releasing the record,
Mm-hmm.
When I could walk into a Best Buy and see my CD there, that was a pretty highlight moment.
That's
of
awesome.
my experience. And then, when we first started getting played on satellite, we got satellite before we got the other radio stations.
Yeah.
We were playing a show in Phoenix, and we were setting up to start gear or whatever, and they had it playing on the radio, and suddenly we heard, the new single, Pleasure and Pain, from Gemini Syndrome, and I was like, what? I started skipping around the place. I was so, just the adrenaline kicks, man. So to hear yourself on the radio for the first time, just randomly was pretty intense.
That's awesome. Yeah. And, you guys, you have a major label now.
We do.
And that's a big feat for a heavy band.
Yeah.
It is. And you guys have an awesome sound that fits in several different arenas. I mean, it's not something that you're not going to be pigeonholed. You guys it seems like you have a lot of areas that you're going to fit in, and that's going to work well for festivals and things like that in the future.
Yeah, it has so far. I mean, we've gone out with bands from, we're out with Red right now, and Five Finger Death Punch last year, Drowning Pool, Redline Chemistry, Device and Nonpoint, Mushroom Head. It's pretty diverse. We don't consider ourselves a metal band. We're certainly influenced by metal.
Yeah.
But I just don't. I think it's more of a heavy alternative.
Yeah.
Just because we do have the more ballady kind of stuff, and we try to sing as much as we can.
But it still has teeth.
It still has teeth to it, just for sure. It has bite to it. But I think metal bands, and I think like Fear Factory. I think bands like that. And I love that stuff.
Oh yeah.
I think Meshuggah. I don't think us. But
well, I mean, it's really hard, and especially to try to define your own band sound. Most people come off sounding kind of douchey, to sit there and go, well, our band, we have like an avant-garde metal meets grunge type, and it's difficult.
It is hard, man.
Your fans can do that, and you just kind of have to go, yeah, I can see that, know. What are you looking forward to?
Keeping it going, man. Honestly, I mean, I love the road. I love touring.
Do the rest of the guys feel that way too?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we all get stressed. After we've been out for months and months,
yeah.
It gets tiring, and you want to go home. But it's a very strange give and take. You get to the end of a longer tour. This is only like 4 weeks, so it's really easy peasy in that sense. But when you're out for 7, 8, 9 weeks. You start getting to the end of it, it's like, okay, that last week starts to drag, and you just want to be home. But then you get home, and you're home for a little bit, and then you start getting the itch to get back out on the road. So it's really, it's just like you can't win in that sense.
Yeah, and it seems anymore that's the way to make a living in this business is to go out and tour your ass off. I know that in the last few years, record sales haven't been the majority of the money that bands can make, and what's keeping them afloat.
It's just not what it used to be, man. People just don't buy the records like they used to. So yeah, and a big part of that too is getting in front of, people who you haven't been exposed to before. The Five Finger Death Punch tour was really good for us because there was a lot of fans that had never heard of us, and it was such a big audience. We were playing to thousands of kids a night. But then we come out with a band like Red, who is a very different style, a very different genre, and again, a totally different demographic that we've never been exposed to.
Yeah.
So I enjoy the headline stuff, but I really enjoy going out with other bands a lot. I like being the support act because I like watching what they do, especially the seasoned pros, and kind of trying to learn from them. And again, getting in front of their fans and getting exposed to a new audience.
That's a great way of looking at it. If you could play with anybody, who would it be?
It's a long list. It's a long list.
First thing you think of?
Deftones.
Deftones. There you go. See?
Seven Dust, Tool, Carnival. I would love to tour with Carnival. It's weird. Some of the stuff that I listen to a lot is like Catatonia and Opeth, which is a lot heavier prog, almost black metal-ish. And I don't know if we would necessarily fit with those bands, but they're some of my personal favorites.
Those festivals. Again, you're playing Rocklahoma, and that's, dear God, that's got to be the most diverse lineup I've seen of Rocklahoma.
Yeah, I was looking at that when we found it the other day, and I was impressed with the diversity of it.
Yeah, I really like that.
It's very different than any festivals even we played last year,
Hopefully that exposes people to new music, and they don't just go there and go, oh, I'm just here for this one band.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of those festivals, is you do get so many options, really.
Yeah.
When we played Rock on the Range last year, we were there all 3 days. And we weren't supposed to get to stay on Sunday, but we did. So I got to go see Lamb of God. I got to watch Stone Sour. I got to watch Seven Dust.
That's awesome.
It was great, man.
Okay, well, any last words for your fans?
Thank you as always.
All right.
It keeps growing and it keeps growing, so keep it going.
Keep it turned up to 11.